This is called Miracles or Wonders, or a slash in there. Wonders, Miracles, Miracles, Wonders. There's quite a bit here, so I'm just going to get into it. But I read from the Institute for Scripture Research, the ISR, because it takes a direct translation from Hebrew to English, Greek to English, and Aramaic to English. Yah is the Elohim of the heavens and the earth, the first and the last and the only. He's an extremely jealous El. He's so jealous that he doesn't even want the names of idols or mighty ones to come to our lips. And Yah is short for Yahweh, Yahweh, Yod He Vav He. It's like saying Dan, Daniel, Daniel with an E. What is the difference and does matters when people say that Phil, Bob, Sam, and Aaron are the same name when no, they're not, and no one in their right mind would ever believe that, and only a fool would believe that a hammer could force its creator to do anything. And there was no letter J in the Hebrew, Greek, or Aramaic text because the letter J is about 600 years old, while the son of Elohim, Yahoshua, died on a stake for the sins of all of humanity over 2,000 years ago. And a direct translation from Hebrew to English, Yahoshua is Joshua, and I strongly believe that the son of Elohim's name, Yahoshua, means Yahweh is salvation. Uh, this is gonna... I mean, it's not really gonna go in order. I'm starting in Exodus, then it goes Genesis, then Chronicles, and then Joshua, and then Romans. It's because I go onto the internet and I look for things because obviously I don't remember all of them. I don't know anyone who remembers all of it. Unless you got like photographic memory, then you are very blessed, because I am very blessed not to remember very many things. Anyways, Exodus 3:19 to 20, because it is really long and I don't want to like. I think it's going to be over 2 hours. Let's just get into it. But I know that the sovereign of Mitzrayim, Mitsraym, which is Egypt, is not going to let you go, not even by a strong hand, and I shall stretch out my hand and strike Mitzrayim with all my wonders, which I shall do in its midst, and after that he shall let you go. Exodus 4:3 to 12. Excuse me. And Yahweh said to Moshe, Mosheh, which is Moses, reach out your hand and seize it by the tail. So he reached out his hand and took hold of it, and it became a rod in his hand. Oh, wait a minute. 3. I started at 4, my bad. And he said, throw it on the ground, talking about his rod. So he threw it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moshe fled from it. And Yahweh said to Moshe, reach out your hand and seize it by the tail. So he reached out his hand and took hold of it, and he became a rod in his hand, so that they believed that Yahweh Elohim of their fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, AB with a line underneath of it, Raham, the Elohim of Yitzhak, Yitsh with a dot, AQ, and the Elohim of Jacob, YA''AQOB with a line underneath it, with a line underneath of it, has appeared to you. And Yahweh said to him again, now put your hand in your bosom. And he put his hand in his bosom, and when he took it out, and see, his hand was leprous like snow. And he said, put your hand in your bosom again. So he put his hand in his bosom again, and drew it out of his bosom, and see, it was restored like his other flesh. And it shall be, if they do not believe you, nor listen to the voice of the first sign, they shall believe the voice of the later sign. And it shall be, if they do not believe even these two signs, or listen to your voice, that you shall take water from the river and pour it on the dry ground, on the dry land, and the water which you take from the river shall become blood on the dry land. And Moshe said to Yahweh, O Yahweh, I am not a man of works. I am not a man of works. I'm lost. Give me a second. Neither before nor since you have spoken to your servant, for I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. Yeah, so am I. I need an Aaron. That's what I need. I need an Aaron. And Yahweh said to him who has made man's mouth, or who makes dumb, or deaf, or seen, or blind, is it not I, Yahweh? And the reason why he does that is to esteem him through, or yeah, to have him be esteemed through the action of people seeing it being healed, kind of a thing. Which we'll get there. And now go, and I shall be with your mouth and teach you what to say. But he said, O Yahweh, please send by the hand of him who you would send. And the displeasure of Yahweh burned against Moshe. I'm reading too far because this is just supposed to be miracles and wonders and stuff. Exodus 7:8-25. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe and said, Aaron, and Yahweh spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, Aharon, saying, when Pharaoh speaks to you, saying, show a miracle for yourselves, then you shall say to Aaron, take your rod and throw it before Pharaoh, and let it become a serpent. So Moshe and Aaron went in to Pharaoh, and they did so as Yahweh commanded. And Aaron threw his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. But Pharaoh also called the wise men and the practicers of witchcraft, and they, the magicians of Mitzrayim, also did so with their magic, and they each one threw down his rod, and they became serpents. But the rod of Aaron swallowed up their rods, and Pharaoh's heart was strengthened, and he did not listen to them, as Yahweh had said. And Yahweh said to Moshe, the heart of Pharaoh is hard. He refused to let the people go. Go to Pharaoh in the morning as he goes out to the water, and you shall stand by the river's bank to meet him, and take in your hand the rod which was turned into a serpent, and you shall say to him, Yahweh the excuse me. And you shall say to him, Yahweh the Elohim of the Hebrews, not the Jews as you'd most say, but it's not the Jews, it's the Hebrews, all 12 tribes, Hebrew or Semitic as it would be nowadays. Of the Hebrews has sent me to you, saying, let my people go so that they serve me in the wilderness. But see, until now you have not listened. But thus said Yahweh, by this you know that I am Yahweh. See, I am striking the waters which are in the river with the rod that is in my hand, and they shall be turned to blood. And the fish in the river shall die, and the river shall stink, and the Mitzrites shall find it impossible to drink the water of the river. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, say to Aaron, take your rod and stretch out your hand over the waters of Mitzrayim, over their streams, over their rivers, over their ponds, and over all their pools of water, that they become blood. And there shall be blood in all the land of Mitzrayim, both in wooden and in stone containers, fancy English containers. And Moshe and Aaron did so as Yahweh commanded, and he lifted up the rod and struck the waters that were in the river in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of his servants. And all the waters that were in the river were turned to blood, and the fish that were in the river died, and the river stank, and the Mitzrites were unable to drink the water of the river, and the blood was in all the land of Mitzrayim, and the magicians of Mitzrayim did the same with their magic, and the heart of Pharaoh was strengthened, and he did not listen to them, as Yahweh had said. And Pharaoh turned and went into his house, and his heart was not moved by this either. And all the Mitzrites dug all around the river for water to drink, for they were unable to drink the water of the river. And 7 days were completed after Yahweh had struck the river. Exodus 8, 1-32. Oh, that's all of 8. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, this is where it's... Oh, yeah. Excuse me. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, go to Pharaoh and say to him, thus said Yahweh, let my people go so that they serve me. But if you refuse to let them go, see, I am smiting all your borders with frogs, and the river shall swarm with frogs, which shall go up and shall come into your house. and into your bedroom, and on your bed, and into the houses of your servants, and on your people, and into your ovens, and into your kneading bowls. And the frogs shall come up on you, and on your people, and on all your servants. And Yahweh said to Moshe, say to Aaron, stretch out your hand with your rod over the streams, over the rivers, and over the ponds, and cause the frogs to come up on the land of Mitzrayim. So Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Mitzrayim, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Mitzrayim. And the magicians did so with their magic, and brought up frogs on the land of Mitzrayim. Pharaoh then called for Moshe and Aaron and said, pray to Yahweh to take away the frogs from me and from my people, and I shall let the people go to slaughter to Yahweh. And Moshe said to Pharaoh, explain yourself to me. When am I to pray for you and for your servants and for your people to destroy the frogs from you and your houses and remain only in the river? So he said, tomorrow. And he said, let it be according to your word, so that you know that there is no one like Yahweh our Elohim. And the frogs shall turn aside from you and from your houses and from your servants and from your people. They shall remain in the river only. And Moshe and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, and Moshe cried out to Yahweh concerning the frogs which he had brought against Pharaoh. Excuse me. And Yahweh did according to the word of Moshe, and the frogs died out of the houses, out of the courtyards, out of the fields, and they gathered them together in heaps, and the land stunk. And when Pharaoh saw that there was relief, he hardened his heart and did not listen to them, as Yahweh had said. And Yahweh said to Moshe, say to Aaron, stretch out your rod and strike the dust of the land, so that it becomes gnats in all the land of Mitzrayim. And they did so. And Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod and struck the dust of the earth, and it became gnats on man and beast. All the dust of the land became gnats on all the land of Mitzrayim. And the magicians did similarly with their magic to bring forth gnats, but they were unable, and there were gnats on man and beast. The magicians then said to Pharaoh, this is the finger of Elohim. But the heart of Pharaoh was strengthened, and he did not listen to them. And Yahweh had said, and Yahweh said to Moshe, rise early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh as he comes out of the water, and say to him, thus said Yahweh, let my people go, so that they serve me. Or else, if you do not let my people go, see, I am sending swarms of flies on you and your servants and on your people and into your houses. And the houses of the Mitzrites shall be filled with swarms of flies, and also the ground on which they stand. And in that day I shall separate the land of Goshen, Goshen, in which my people dwell, that no swarms of flies shall be there, so that you know that I am Yahweh in the midst of the land. And I shall put a ransom between my people and your people. Tomorrow this sign shall be excuse me. And Yahweh did so, and thick swarms of flies came into the house of Pharaoh, and into his servants' houses, and into all the land of Mitzrayim. And the land was ruined because of the swarms of flies. Pharaoh then called for Moshe and Aaron, and said, go slaughter to your Elohim in the land. And Moshe said, it is not right to do so, for we would be slaughtering the abomination of Mitzrites to Yahweh our Elohim. See, if we slaughter the abomination of the Mitzrites before their eyes, would they not stone us? Let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness. Then we shall slaughter to Yahweh our Elohim as he commands us. And Pharaoh said, I am letting you go. Then you shall slaughter to Yahweh your Elohim in the wilderness. Only do not go very far away. Pray for me. And Moshe said, see, when I leave you, I shall pray to Yahweh, and tomorrow the swarms of flies shall depart from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people. But do not let Pharaoh again deceive. Do not let the people go to slaughter to Yahweh. And Moshe went out from Pharaoh and prayed to Yahweh, and Yahweh did according to the word of Moshe, and removed the swarms of flies from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people. Not one remained, but Pharaoh hardened his heart at this time too, and did not let the people go. Ooh, I just like moved my arm and turned arm just nerves. 35, 35. That's the full chapter of that one. Alright. 9. And Aaron said to Moshe, and Yahweh said to Moshe, Go in to Pharaoh and speak to him. Thus said Yahweh, Elohim of the Hebrews, Let my people go so that they serve me. For if you refuse to let them go and are still holding them, see, the hand of Yahweh is on your livestock in the field, on the horses, on the donkeys, on the camels, on the cattle, and on the sheep a very grievous pestilence, and Yahweh shall separate between the livestock of Israel and the livestock of Mitzrayim, and let no matter die of all that belongs to the children of Israel. And Yahweh set an appointed time, saying, Tomorrow Yahweh is going to do this word in the land. And Yahweh did this word on the next day, and all the livestock of Mitzrayim died, but of the livestock of the children of Israel not one died. Then Pharaoh sent, and see, not even one of the livestock of Israel was dead, but the heart of Pharaoh was hardened, and he did not let the people go. And Yahweh said to Moshe and Aaron, Fill your hands with ashes from a furnace, and let Moshe scatter it toward the heavens before the eyes of Pharaoh, and it shall become like dust in all the land of Mitzrayim, and it shall cause boils that break out in sores on man and beast in all the land of Mitzrayim. So they took ashes from the furnace and stood before Pharaoh, and Moshe scattered them before the heavens, and they caused boils breaking out in sores on man and beast, and the magicians were unable to stand before Moshe because of the boils, for the boils were on the magicians and on all the Mitzrites. But Yahweh strengthened the heart of Pharaoh, and he did not listen to them, as Yahweh had said to Moshe. And Yahweh said to Moshe, Rise early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh and say to him, Thus said Yahweh, Elohim of the Hebrews, Let my people go so that they serve me, for at this time I am sending all my plagues unto your heart and on your servants and on your people, so that you know that there is no one like me in all the earth. Now if I had stretched out my hand and struck you and your people with pestilence, then you would have been cut off from the earth. And for this reason I have raised you up in order to show you my power, and in order to declare my name in all the earth. You still exalt yourself against my people, in that you do not let them go. See, tomorrow about this time I am causing very heavy hail to rain down, such as has not been in Mitzrayim from the day of its founding until now. And now bring your livestock to safety, and all that you have in the field, for the hail shall come down on every man and every beast which is found in the field, and is not brought home, and they shall die. Those among the servants of Pharaoh who feared the word of Yahweh made their servants and livestock flee to the houses, but those who did not set their heart on the word of Yahweh left their servants and livestock in the field. Then Yahweh said to Moshe, Stretch out your hand toward the heavens, and let there be hail in all the land of Mitzrayim, on man and on beast, and on every plant of the field throughout the land of Mitzrayim. Then Moshe stretched out his rod toward the heavens, and Yahweh sent thunder and hail and fire came down on the earth, and Yahweh rained hail on the land of Mitzrayim. Thus there came to be hail and fire flashing continually in the midst of the hail, very heavy, such as had not been in all the land of Mitzrayim since it became a nation. And the hail struck in all the land of Mitzrayim all that was in the field, both man and beast, and the hail struck every plant of the field, and broke every tree of the field. Only in the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel were, there was no hail. Pharaoh then sent and called for Moshe and for Aaron, and said to them, I have sinned this time. Yahweh is righteous, and my people and I are wrong. Pray to Yahweh, for there has been enough of the thunder and hail of Elohim, and I am letting you go so that you stay no longer. And Moshe said to him, as soon as I go out of the city, let me spread out my hands to Yahweh, let the thunder cease and the hail be no more, so that you know that the earth belongs to Yahweh, so that for you and your servants I know that you do not yet fear before Yahweh Elohim, that I know that you do not yet fear before Yahweh Elohim. And the flax and the barley were struck, and the barley was in the head, and the flax was in the bud. But the wheat and the spelt were not struck, for they were late crops. And Moshe went out of the city from Pharaoh and spread out his hands to Yahweh. And the thunder and the hail ceased, and the rain was not poured on the earth. And Pharaoh saw that the rain and the hail and the thunder had ceased, yet he sinned again, and he hardened his heart, he and his servants, and the heart of Pharaoh was strengthened, and he did not let the children of Israel go, as Yahweh had said through Moshe. Exodus 10 and Exodus 11. Alright. 10. And Yahweh said to Moshe, go in to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the hearts of his servants, so that I show these signs of mine before him, and that you relate in the hearing of your son and your son's son, and your son's son, what I have done in Mitzrayim, and my signs which I have done among them, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. And Moshe and Aaron came into Pharaoh and said to him, thus said Yahweh, Elohim of the Hebrews, till when shall you refuse to humble yourself before me? Let my people go so that they serve me, or else if you refuse to let my people go, see, tomorrow I am bringing locusts within your borders, and they shall cover the surface of the land, so that no one is able to see the land, and they shall eat the rest of what has escaped, which remains to you from the hail, and they shall eat every tree which grows up for you out of the field, and they shall fill your houses and the houses of your servants, and the houses of all the Mitzrites, which neither your fathers nor your fathers' fathers have seen since the day that they were on the earth to this day. Then he turned and went out from Pharaoh, and Pharaoh's servants said to him, till when would this one be a snare to us? Let the men go so that they serve Yahweh their Elohim. Do you not yet know that Mitzrayim is destroyed? And Moshe and Aaron were brought back to Pharaoh, and he said to them, go serve Yahweh your Elohim. Who are the ones that are going? And Moshe said, we are going with our young and our old, with our sons and our daughters, with our flocks and our herds. We are going, for we have a festival to Yahweh. And he said to them, let Yahweh be with you as I let you and your little ones go. Watch, for evil is before your face. Not so, you men go now and serve Yahweh, for that is what you desire. And they were driven out from the presence of Pharaoh. And Yahweh said to Moshe, stretch out your hand over the land of Mitzrayim, for the locusts to come upon the land of Mitzrayim, and eat every plant of the land, all that the hail has left. And Moshe stretched out his rod over the land of Mitzrayim, and Yahweh brought an east wind on the land all that day and all that night. Morning came, and the east wind brought the locusts, and the locusts went up over all the land of Mitzrayim and settled within all the borders of Mitzrayim, very grievous. There had never been locusts like them before, nor would there again be like them. And they covered the surface of all the land, so that the land was darkened, and they ate every plant of the land and all the fruit of the trees which the hail had left, and no greenness was left on the trees or on the plants of the field in all the land of Mitzrayim. Pharaoh then called for Moshe and Aaron in haste and said, I have sinned against Yahweh your Elohim, and against you, and now please forgive my sin only this once, and pray to Yahweh your Elohim that he would only turn away this death from me. And he went out from Pharaoh and prayed to Yahweh, and Yahweh turned a very strong west wind, which took the locusts away and blew them into the sea of reeds. Not one locust was left within all the borders of Mitzrayim. However, Yahweh strengthened the heart of Pharaoh, and he did not let the children of Israel go. And Yahweh said to Moshe, stretch out your hand toward the heavens, and let there be darkness over the land of Mitzrayim, even the darkness which is felt. And Moshe stretched out his hand toward the heavens, and there was thick darkness in all the land of Mitzrayim for 3 days. They did not see one another, nor did anyone rise from their place for 3 days, while all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. And Pharaoh called to Moshe and said, go serve Yahweh, only leave your flocks and your herds behind. Let your little ones go with you too. But Moshe said, you yourself are to provide us with slaughterings and ascending offerings to prepare for Yahweh our Elohim, and our livestock are to go with us too. Not a hoof is to be left behind, for we have to take some of them to serve Yahweh our Elohim, and we ourselves do not know with what we are to serve Yahweh until we come there. However, Yahweh strengthened the heart of Pharaoh, and he would not let them go. And Pharaoh said to them, get away from me, watch yourself, and see my face no more, for in the day you see my face, you die. And Moshe said, you have spoken rightly, never again do I see your face. He was scared, and he was like, boom, out of there. But, 11. And Yahweh said to Moshe, I am bringing yet one more plague on Pharaoh and on Mitzrayim. After that, he is going to let you go from here. When he lets you go, he shall drive you out from here together. Speak now in the hearing of the people, and let every man ask for his people, and let every man ask from his neighbor, and every woman from his neighbor, objects of silver and objects of gold. And Yahweh gave the people favor in the eyes of the Mitzrites. And the man Moshe was very great in the land of Mitzrayim, in the eyes of Pharaoh's servants, and in the eyes of the people. And Moshe said, thus said Yahweh, about midnight I am going out into the midst of Mitzrayim, and all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on his throne, even to the firstborn of the female servant who is behind the handmill, and all the firstborn of cattle. And there shall be a great outcry throughout all the land of Mitzrayim, such as has never been or ever shall be again. But against any of the children of Israel no dog shall move its tongue against man or against beast, so that you know that Yahweh makes distinction between Mitzrayim and Israel. And all these servants of yours shall come down to me and bow down to me, saying, get out, you and all the people at your feet. And after that I shall go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in great displeasure. But Yahweh said to Moshe, Pharaoh is not going to listen to you in order to multiply my wonders in the land of Mitzrayim. And Moshe and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh. However, Yahweh strengthened the heart of Pharaoh, and he did not let the children of Israel go out of his land. Dun, dun, dun. Twelve 1 to 14. Exodus 12 1 to 14. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe and to Aaron in the land of Mitzrayim, saying, this new moon is the beginning of new moons for you. It is the first new moon of the year for you, so the first month. Speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, on the 10th day of this new moon, each one of them is to take for himself a lamb, according to the house of his father, a lamb for a household. And if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of the beans. According to each man's need, you make your count for the lamb. Let the lamb be a perfect one, a year-old male. Let it or take it from the sheep or from the goats, and you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same new moon. Then all the assembly of the congregation of Israel shall slay it between the evenings, and they shall take some of the blood, and put it on the doorpost and on the lintel of the doorpost where they eat it, and they shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted in fire with unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Do not eat it raw nor boiled. Oh, yeah, yeah. Do not eat it raw nor boiled at all with water, but roasted in fire, its head with its legs and its inward parts, and do not leave it until morning. And what remains of it until morning you are to burn with fire, and this you are to eat. And this is how you eat it: your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is the Pesah, P-E with a half a check mark, S-A-H with a dot, which is the Passover of Yahweh. And I shall pass through the land of Mitzrayim on that night, and shall strike all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, both man and beast, and on all the mighty ones of Mitzrayim I shall execute judgment. I am Yahweh. And the blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are, and when I see the blood I shall pass over you, and let the plague not come on you to destroy you, when I strike the land of Mitzrayim. And this day shall become to you a remembrance, and you shall celebrate it as a festival to Yahweh throughout your generations. Celebrate it as a festival and everlasting law. 21 to 32. 12:21 to 32. And Moshe called for all the elders of Israel and said to them, go out and take lambs for yourselves according to your clans, and slay the Pesah, the Passover. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two doorposts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out of the door of his house until morning, and Yahweh shall pass on to smite the Mitzrites, and shall see the blood on the lintel and on the two doorposts, and Yahweh shall pass over the door and not allow the destroyer to come into your houses to smite you. And you shall guard this word as a law for you and your sons forever. And it shall be when you come to the land which Yahweh gives you, as he promised, that you shall guard this service. And it shall be when your children say to you, what does this service mean to you? Then you shall say, it is the Pesah, slaughtering to Yahweh, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Mitzrayim, when he smote the Mitzrites and delivered our households. And the people bowed their heads and did obeisance, and the children of Israel went away and did so as Yahweh had commanded Moshe and Aaron, so they did. And it came to be at midnight that Yahweh struck all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of livestock. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all the servants and all the Mitzrites. There was a great cry in Mitzrayim, for there was not a house where there was not a dead one. Then he called for Moshe and Aaron by night and said, arise, go out from the midst of my people, both you and the children of Israel, and go serve Yahweh as you have said. Take both your flock and your herds, as you have said, and go, then you shall bless me too. 13, Exodus 13:21 to 22. And Yahweh went before them by day in a column of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a column of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. The column of cloud did not cease by day, nor the column of fire by night before the people. I definitely shouldn't have wrote them like this, but that's okay. 14:9 to 31. Exodus 14:9 to 31. And the Mitzrayites pursued them, and all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them, camping by the sea beside Pi Hahiroth, P-I, and then H-A-H with a dot I-R-O-T-H, before Baal Siphon, Baal, B-A apostrophe A-L, which Lord is Hebrew for Baal. Siphon, T-S-E-P-H-O-N. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted their eyes and saw the Mitzrites coming up after them, and they were greatly afraid. So the children of Israel cried out to Yahweh, and they said to Moshe, "Did you take us away to die in the wilderness because there are no burial sites in Mitzrayim?" They're already grumbling. They're literally already grumbling. "What is this you have done to us to bring us up out of Mitzrayim? Is this not the word that we spoke to you in Mitzrayim, saying, 'Leave us alone and let us serve the Mitzrites'? For it would have been better for us to serve the Mitzrites than to die in the wilderness." And Moshe said to the people, "Do not be afraid, stand still and see the deliverance of Yahweh, which he does for you today. For the Mitzrites whom you see today, you are never ever to see again. Yahweh does fight for you, and you keep silent." And Yahweh said to Moshe, "Why do you cry to me? Speak to the children of Israel and let them go forward. And you lift up your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it, and let the children of Israel go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I am strengthening the hearts of the Mitzrites, and they shall follow them, and I am to be esteemed through Pharaoh and over all his army, his chariots and his horsemen, and the Mitzrites shall know that I am Yahweh when I am esteemed through Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen." And the messenger, capital M, whenever they're talking about angels, messengers, it's always a lowercase m, but this is a capital M. "And the messenger of Elohim," guaranteed this is Yahoshua, "who went before the camp of Israel moved and went behind them, and the column of cloud went from before them, and stood behind them, and came between the camp of the Mitzrites and the camp of Israel. And it was the cloud and the darkness, and it gave light by night, and the one did not come near the other all the night. And Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahweh caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided, and the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on their right and on their left. And the Mitzrites pursued and went after them into the midst of the sea, and the horses of Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to be in the morning watch that Yahweh looked down upon the army of the Mitzrites through the column of fire and cloud, and he brought the army of the Mitzrites into confusion, and he took off their chariot wheels, so that they drove with them difficultly. And the Mitzrites said, "Let us flee from the face of Israel, for Yahweh fights for them against the Mitzrites." Then Yahweh said to Moshe, "Stretch out your hand over the sea, and let the waters come back upon the Mitzrites, on their chariots and on their horsemen." And Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its usual flow at the break of day, with the Mitzrites fleeing into it. Thus Yahweh overthrew the Mitzrites in the midst of the sea, and the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the army of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. and not even one was left of them. And the children of Israel walked on dry ground in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on their right and on their left. Thus Yahweh saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Mitzrites. And Israel saw the Mitzrites dead on the seashore, and Israel saw the great work which Yahweh had done in Mitzrayim. And the people feared Yahweh and believed Yahweh and his servant Moshe. I still gotta think, those people who made a calf 30 days after this man went up into the mountain area. It's like, bro, after you witnessed that, you still went ahead and did that? Savage. Okay, that was 14. So 15, 23 to 26. Quite a few of these are just going to be Exodus, so I might just say their numbers, and I will definitely tell you when it's not Exodus. But Exodus 15, 23 to 26. And they came to Marah, Marah, and they were unable to drink the waters of Marah, for they were bitter, so the name of it was called Marah. And the people grumbled against Moshe, saying, What are we to drink? Then he cried out to Yahweh, and Yahweh showed him a tree, and when he threw it into the waters were made sweet. There he made a law and a right ruling for them, and there he tried them. And he tried them. And he said, If you diligently obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, and do what is right in his eyes, and shall listen to his commands, and shall guard all his laws, I shall bring on you none of the diseases I brought on the Mitzrites, for I am Yahweh who heals you. Amen to that. 16, 3 to 31. Three to 31. And the children of Israel said to them, If only we had died in the hand of Yahweh in the land of If only we had died by the hand of Yahweh in the land of Mitzrayim, when we sat by their pots of meat, and when we ate bread to satisfaction, for you have brought us out into this wilderness to put all this assembly to death with hunger. And Yahweh said to Moshe, See, I am raining bread from the heavens for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day in order to try them whether they walk in my Torah or not. And it shall be on the 6th day that they shall prepare what they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moshe and Aaron said to all the children of Israel, At evening you shall know that Yahweh has brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, and in the morning you shall see the esteem of Yahweh, for he hears your grumblings against Yahweh. And what are we that you grumble against us? And Moshe said, In that Yahweh gives you meat to eat in the evening, and in the morning bread to satisfaction, for Yahweh hears your grumblings which you make against him. And what are we? Your grumblings are not against us, but against Yahweh. And Moshe said to Aaron, Say to all the congregation of the children of Israel, Come near before Yahweh, for he has heard your grumblings. And it came to be, as Aaron spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and see the esteem of Yahweh appeared in the cloud. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, I have heard the grumblings of the children of Israel. Speak to them, saying, Between the evenings you are to eat meat, and in the morning you are to be satisfied with bread. And you shall know that I am Yahweh your Elohim. And it came to be, the quails, Quails, came up at evening and covered the camp,
And in the morning the dew lay all around the camp, and the layer of dew went up, and see, on the surface of the wilderness was a small round substance, as fine as frost on the ground. And the children of Israel saw, and they said to each other, What is it? For they did not know what it was. And Moshe said to them, It is the bread which Yahweh has given you to eat. This is the word which Yahweh has commanded. Let every man gather it according to each one's need, an omer for each, omer for each one being according to the number of beans. Let every man take for those who are in his tent. It's looking down, sorry. Alright. In his tent, and the children of Israel did so, and gathered some more, some less, and they measured it by omers. And he who gathered much did not have too much, but he who gathered little did not have too little. Each one gathered according to his need. And Moshe said, Let no one leave any of it until morning. And they did not listen to Moshe, so some of them left part of it until morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moshe was wroth with them, and they gathered it every morning, each one according to his need. And when the sun became hot, it melted, and it came to be on the 6th day that they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for each one. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moshe, and he said to them, This is what Yahweh has said: Tomorrow is a rest, a Sabbath set apart to Yahweh. That which you bake, bake, and that which you cook, cook, and lay up for yourselves all that is left over, to keep it until morning. And they laid it up until morning, as Moshe commanded, and it did not stink, and no worm was in it. And Moshe said, Eat it today, for today is a Sabbath to Yahweh. Today you do not find it in the field, and gather it 6 days, but on the 7th day it is the Sabbath, there is none. And it came to be that some of the people went out on the 7th day to gather, but they found none. And Yahweh said to Moshe, How long shall you refuse to guard my commands and my Torah teaching? See, because Yahweh has given you the Sabbath, therefore he has given you bread for 2 days. On the 6th day let each one stay in his place. Do not let anyone go out of his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day, and the house of Israel called its name manna, and it was like white coriander seed, and the taste of it was like thin cakes made with honey. Good idea here. Yeah. Put a line here, just go down with it. That was 16. 17, 6 to 7. That's actually like genius how that works. 17, 6 to 7. See, I am standing before you there on the rock of Horeb, H with a dot, O-R-E with a half a check mark on top of it, B with a line underneath of it. And you shall strike the rock, and water shall come out of it, and the people shall drink. And Moshe did so before the eyes of the children of Israel. And he called the name of the place Massah, M-A-S-S-A-H, and Meribah, M-E-R-I-B with a line underneath of it, A-H, because of the strife of the children of Israel, and because they tried Yahweh, saying, Is Yahweh in our midst or not? Vicious. How dare they say such things like that? 19:9. And Yahweh said to Moshe, See, I am coming to you in the thick cloud, so that the people hear when I speak with you and believe you forever. And Moshe reported the words of the people to Yahweh. 23:23. Exodus 23:23. For my messenger shall go before you and shall bring you into the Amorites, Amorites, and the Hittites, H with a dot, Ittie, H with a dot, Ittites, and the Perizzites, Perizzites, and the Canaanites, Kena apostrophe Anites, and the Hivites, H with a dot, Iwwites, and the Ubites, Yeb with a line underneath of it, Usites, and I shall cut them off. Do not bow down to their mighty ones, nor serve them, nor do according to their works, but without fail overthrow them. Am I supposed to read that for? 23. Oh, it's just 23. Overthrow them, throw them into the chambers, Yah. Exodus 24, 15 to 18. 24? 24:15 to 18. And Moshe went up into the mountain, and a cloud covered the mountain, and the esteem of Yahweh dwelt on Mount Sinai, Sinai, and the cloud covered it for 6 days. And on the seventh day he called to Moshe out of the midst of the cloud, and the appearance of the esteem of Yahweh was like a consuming fire on the top of the mountain before the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moshe went into the midst of the cloud and went up into the mountain, and it came to be that Moshe was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. 34:10. Exodus 34:10. And he said, See, I am making a covenant before all your people. I am going to do wonders such as have not been done in all the earth, nor in any nation, and all the people among whom you are shall see the work of Yahweh, for what I am doing with you is awesome. Amen. 34:30 to 35. And Aaron and all the children of Israel looked at Moshe and saw the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come near him. But Moshe called out to him, and Aaron and all the rulers of the congregation and all the rulers of the children of the congregation returned to him, and Moshe spoke to them. And afterward all the children of Israel came near, and he commanded them all that Yahweh had spoken with him on Mount Sinai. And when Moshe ended speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. But whenever Moshe went in before Yahweh to speak with him, he would remove the veil until he came out. And when he came out, he spoke to the children of Israel what he had been commanded. And the children of Israel would see the face of Moshe, that the skin of Moshe's face shone. And Moshe would put the veil on his face again until he went in to speak with him. With Yahweh. Genesis 1, because it's awesome. I think it's a miracle or a wonder about how the earth was made, so that's why I put Genesis 1 in there. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth came to be formless and empty, and the darkness was on the face of the deep, and the spirit of Elohim was moving on the face of the waters. And Elohim said, Let light come to be, and light came to be. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good, and Elohim separated the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, And the darkness he called night, and there came to be evening, and there came to be morning one day. And Elohim said, let an expanse come to be in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters, the sky. And Elohim made the expanse, and separated the waters which were under the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse, and it came to be so. At least I think it's the sky. And Elohim called the expanse heavens, and there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the second day. So it is the sky. The second day, and Elohim said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it came to be so. And Elohim called the dry land earth, and the collection of the waters he called seas. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth grass, the plant that yields seed, and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth. And it came to be so. And the earth brought forth grass, the plant that yields seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the third day. And Elohim said, let lights come to be in the expanse of the heavens, to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and appointed times, and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens, to give light on the earth. And it came to be so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. And Elohim set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the fourth day. And Elohim said, let the waters teem with shoals, shoals of living beings, and let birds fly above the earth on the face of the expanse of the heavens. And Elohim created great sea creatures, and every living being that moves, with which the waters teemed according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim blessed them, saying, be fruitful and increase, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the fifth day. And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth the living being according to its kind, livestock and creeping creatures, and beasts of the earth according to its kind. And it came to be so. And Elohim made the beast of the earth according to its kind, livestock according to its kind, and all that creep on the earth according to its kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over all the creeping creatures, fancy English creatures, that creep on the ground. And Elohim created the man in his image. In the image of Elohim he created man, male and female he created them. And Elohim blessed them. And Elohim said to them, be fruitful and increase, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over all creeping creatures, fancy English, on the earth. And Elohim said, see, I have given you every plant that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it is for food, and to every beast on the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to every creeping creature on the earth, in which there is a living being. Every green plant is for food. And it came to be so. And Elohim saw all that he had made, and see, it was very good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the sixth day. Neck. Genesis 2:18 to 25. And Yahweh Elohim said, "It is not good for man to be alone. I am going to make a helper for him as his counterpart." And from the ground Yahweh Elohim formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called each living being, that was its name. So the man gave names to all the livestock and all the birds of the heavens and to every beast of the field. But for the man there was not found a helper for him as his counterpart. So Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall on the man, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place, and the rib which Yahweh Elohim had taken from the man he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. And the man said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one is called woman because she was taken of man out of man. For this cause a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." And they were both naked, the man and his wife, yet they were not ashamed, because they hadn't known sin yet. Genesis 14:10-16. John 4 or not John, Genesis 14:10-16. And the valley of Siddim, Siddim, had many tar pits, and the sovereigns of Sodom, Sed, with a line underneath of it, Om, and Amorah, Amorah, fled and fell there, and the remainder fled to the mountains, and they took all the goods of Sodom and Amorah and all their food, and went away, and they took Lot, Lot, Abram's, Ab, with a line underneath of it, Ram, which is Abraham now, which just includes the Ham, Ham, onto it. Abram's brother's son who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and left. And one who had escaped came and informed Abram in Hebrew, or Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, Mamre, with a half a check mark, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, Eshkol, and brother of Aner, Ane, with a half a check mark, R. And they had a covenant with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his 318 trained servants who were born in his own house, and went in pursuit as far as Dan, Dan. And he and his servants divided against them by night, and struck them, and pursued them as far as Hobab, H with a dot, OB with a line underneath of it, AH, which is on the left of Damascus, Dammeseq. So he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the people. Amen. Genesis 16, 7 to 11. 16, 7 to 11. And the messenger of Yahweh found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur, Shur. And he said, Hagar, Hag, with a line on top of it, Ar, Sarai's female servant, Sarai, Sarai's female servant, where have you come from, and where are you going? And she said, I am fleeing from the presence of Sarai, my mistress. And the messenger of Yahweh said to her, return to your mistress, and humble yourself under her hand. And the messenger of Yahweh said to her, I am going to increase your seed greatly, too numerous to be counted. And the messenger of Yahweh said to her, see, you are conceiving and bearing a son, and shall call his name Yishmael, Yishma, with a half a check mark, L, because Yahweh has heard your affliction. Genesis 17:5-9. And no longer is your name called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, because I shall make you a father of many nations, and I shall make you exceedingly fruitful, and make nations of you, and sovereigns shall come from you, and I shall establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be Elohim to you and your seed after you, and I shall give to you and your seed after you the land of your sojourners, all the land of Canaan, as an everlasting possession, and I shall be your Elohim. And Elohim said to Abraham, As for you, guard my covenant, you and your seed after you throughout their generations. If you are a set apart one, then you are of the seed of Abraham, and right then and there you are to follow his commands, his covenants, the things he makes. Alright, now this is when I was like, oh, I remember this, let's go look this up. Oh, I remember that, let's go look this up. And it gets sort of like that. And then there's just, and then I did Elijah's, Elijah's miracles and Elisha's miracles. And then I did a few other randoms in between. And then I did Yahoshua's miracles. And then I did a little bit after that. 2 Chronicles 24:24. Let's y'all read it really quick. 24:24. For the army of Aram came with few men, but Yahweh gave a very great army into their hand, because they had forsaken Yahweh Elohim of their fathers. So they executed judgment against Joash. Y-O apostrophe A-S-H. Oh yeah, and 2 Chronicles 16:8-9. 16:8-9, where the Cushites, Kushites, and the Lubim, Lub, with a line underneath of it, Im, not a mighty army with very many chariots and horsemen, and because you relied on Yahweh, he gave them into your hand. For the eyes of Yahweh diligently search throughout all the earth to show himself to be, fancy English, to be strong on behalf of those whose heart is perfect to him. Who you have acted foolishly in this, so from now on you shall have battles. Joshua 6:1-25. Joshua 6:1-25. He shows the whole thing. Almost. 1-25. Alright. And Jericho, which is Jericho, Yerih with a dot O, was shut up tight because of the presence of the sons of Israel. Yisra apostrophe E with a half a check mark L, not going out and none going out and none coming in. And Yahweh said to Yahoshua, Yehoshua, see, I have given Jericho and its sovereign mighty brave men into your hand, and you shall go around the city, all the men of battle going around the city once. Do this for 6 days, and let 7 priests bear 7 shofars, Shopharot, of the Yobelim, with a line underneath of it, Elim, before the ark. And on the seventh day, go around the city 7 times, while the priests blow the shofaret. And it shall be when they make a long blast with the horn of the yobel, and when you hear the voice of the shofar, and all the people shout with a great sound, and the wall of the city shall fall down flat, and the people shall go up every man straight before him. And Yahoshua son of Nun, Nun, called the priests and said to them, take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 shofars of Yobelim before the ark of Yahweh. And he said to the people, pass over and go around the city, and let him who is armed pass over before the ark of Yahweh. And it came to be, when Yahoshua had spoken to the people, that the 7 priests bearing the 7 shofar of the Yobelim before Yahweh passed over and blew with the shofaret, and the ark of the covenant of Yahweh went before them, and the armed men went before the priests who blew the shofaret, and the rear guard came after the ark, going on and blowing with the shofaret. But Yahoshua had commanded the people, saying, do not make a sound or cause your voice to be heard, nor let any word come out of your mouth until the day I say to you, shout. Then you shall shout. And the ark of Yahweh went around the city, going around once, and they came into the camp and stayed in the camp. And Yahoshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of Yahweh, and 7 priests bearing 7 shofar of the Yobelim before the ark of Yahweh were walking, going on, and they blew with the shofar, and the armed men went before them, but the rear guard came after the ark of Yahweh, going on and blowing with the shofar. And the second day they went around the city once and returned to the camp. Thus they did 6 days. And it came to be on the 7th day that they rose early about the dawning of the day, and went around the city 7 times in this way. Only on that day they went around the city 7 times. And it came to be at the 7th time, when the priest blew the shofar, that Yahoshua said to the people, shout, for Yahweh has given you the city, and the city shall be put under the ban. It and all that was in it belongs to Yahweh. Only Rahab, R-A-H with a dot, A-B with a line underneath of it, the whore, is to live, she and all who are with her in the house, because she hid the messengers that we sent. And you by all means guard yourselves from that which is under the ban, lest you come under the ban when you take of that which is under the ban, and make the camp of Israel a curse, and shall trouble it. And all the silver and gold and vessels of bronze and iron are set apart to Yahweh. They go into the treasury of Yahweh. And the people shouted when the priests blew the shofar. And it came to be, when the people heard the voice of the shofar, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, and the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they captured the city, and they put under the ban all that was in the city, both man and woman, young and old, and ox and sheep and donkey, with the edge of the sword. He slaughtered everybody. And to the 2 men who had spied out the land, Yahoshua said, go into the house of the woman, the whore, and from there bring out the woman and all that she has, as you swore to her. And the young men, the spies, went in and brought out Rahab and her father and her mother and her brothers and all that she had. So they brought out all her relatives, and set them outside the camp of Israel. And they burned the city and all that was in it with fire. Only the silver and gold and the vessels of bronze and of iron they put into the treasury of the house of Yahweh. However, Yahoshua kept alive Rahab the whore and her father's household and all that she had, and she dwelt in the midst of Israel to this day, because she hid the messengers whom Yahoshua sent to spy out Jericho. Which is Jericho, by the way. Romans Romans 15:4. Interesting. Romans 15:4. For whatever was written before us was written for our instruction, that through endurance and encouragement of the Scripture we might have expectation. Amen to that. 1 Samuel 5. First Samuel 5, the whole thing. And the Philistines took the ark of Elohim and brought it from Eben, E-B with a line underneath of it, E-N, Hazer, H-A apostrophe, E with a half a check mark, Z-E-R, to Ashdod, A-S-H-D-O-D with a line underneath of it, and the Philistines, P-H-I-L-I-S-T-I-N-E-S, took the ark of Elohim and brought it into the house of Dagon, D-A-G with a line on top of it, O-N, and set it by Dagon. And the Ashdodites rose early in the morning and saw Dagon fallen on its face to the ground before the ark of YahWeh. So they took Dagon and put it in its place again. And they rose early in the next morning and saw Dagon fallen on its face to the ground before the ark of YahWeh, and the head of Dagon and both the palms of its hands cut off on the threshold. Only Dagon itself was left of it. That is why to this day the priests of Dagon and all who came into Dagon's house do not tread on the thresh floor of Dagon in Ashdod. But the hand of YahWeh was heavy on the Ashdodites, and he wasted them and struck them with tumors, Ashdod and its borders. And when the men of Ashdod saw this, they said, let not the ark of Elohim of Israel remain with us, for his hand has been hard on us and on Dagon our mighty one, who literally can't do anything because he couldn't stop that. Couldn't stop a real creator, the real creator, from doing anything, which means it's useless. Then they sent and gathered to them all the princes of the Philistines and said, what do we do with the ark of the Elohim of Israel? And they answered, let the ark of Elohim of Israel be removed to Gath, G-A-T-H. And they removed the ark of the Elohim of Israel. And it came to be, after they removed it, that the hand of YahWeh was against the city with a very great destruction. And he struck the men of the city from the least to the greatest, and tumors broke out on them. And then they then sent the ark of Elohim to Ekron, E-Q-R-O-N. And it came to be, as the ark of Elohim came to Ekron, that the Ekronites cried out, saying, they have removed the ark of the Elohim of Israel to us, to kill us and our people. And they sent and gathered together all the princes of the Philistines and said, send away the ark of the Elohim of Israel, and let it return to its own people, so that it does not kill us and our people. For there had come a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of Elohim was very heavy there, and the men who did not die were stricken with tumors, and the cry of the city went up to the heavens. Whew. One to 14. Yes. 1 Samuel 6, 1 to 14. And the ark of YahWeh was in the field of the Philistines for 7 new moons, for 7 months. And the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners, saying, what do we do with the ark of YahWeh? Let us know with what we should send it to its place. Let us know with what we should send it to its place. And they said, if you send away the ark of the Elohim of Israel, do not send it empty, but you shall certainly send it to him with a guilt offering. Then you are going to be healed, and it shall be known to you why his hand does not turn aside from you. And they said, what is the guilt offering which we return to him? And they answered, the number of the princes of the Philistines, 5 golden tumors and 5 golden rats for the same plague was on all of you, and on all your your princes. And you shall make images of your tumors and images of your rats that ruin the land. And you shall give esteem to the esteem of Israel, and it shall be that he does lift his hand from you, from your mighty ones, and from your land. And why do you harden your hearts as the Mitzrites and Pharaoh hardened their hearts when he had severely dealt with them? Did they not send them away, and they went? And now take and make a new wagon and 2 milk cows which have never been yoked, and hitch the cows to the wagon, and take their calves home away from them, and take the ark of Yahweh and put it on the wagon, and put the objects of gold which are returning to him as a guilt offering in a chest by its side, and send it away, and it shall go, and you shall see if it goes up the way to its own border to Beth Shemesh, Beth B-E with a half a check mark Y-T-H, Shemesh S-H-E-M-E-S-H. Then he has done us this great evil, but if not, then we shall know that his hand has not come upon us, an accident it was to us. And the men did so, and took 2 milk cows, and hitched them to the wagon, and shut up their calves at home. And they put the ark of Yahweh on the wagon, and the chest in the with the gold rats and the images of the tumors. And the cows went straight for the way to Beth Shemesh, and went along the highway bellowing as they went, and did not turn aside left or right. And the priests of the Philistines went after them to the border of Beth Shemesh, and they of Beth Shemesh were reaping their wheat harvest in the valley, and they lifted up their eyes and saw the ark, and rejoiced to see it. And the wagon came into the field of Yahoshua of Beth Shemesh, and stood there, and there was a great stone, and they split the wood of the wagon, and offered the cows as an ascending offering to Yahweh. Amen. 1 Samuel 14, 6-14. And Yehonathan, Yehonathan, said to the young man who bore his armor, come and let us go over to the outpost of these uncircumcised. If so be Yahweh does work for us, for there is no hindrance for Yahweh to save by many or by few. And his armor bearer said to him, do all that is in your heart. Incline yourself, see, I am with you according to your heart. And Yehonathan said, see, we are passing over to the men, and show yourselves to them. And if they say to us, wait until we come to you, then we shall stand still in our place and not go up to them. But if they say this, come up to us, then we shall go up to them, for Yahweh has given them into our hand, and this is the sign to us. And both of them disclosed themselves to the outpost of the Philistines, and the Philistines said, see, the Hebrews are coming out of the holes where they have hidden. And the men of the outpost called to Yehonathan and his armor bearer, and said, come up to us, and let us teach you a lesson. Then Yehonathan said to his armor bearer, come up after me, for Yahweh has given them into the hand of Israel. And Jonathan climbed up on his hands and knees with his armor bearer after him, and they fell before Jonathan, and his armor bearer was putting them to death behind them. And after the first smiting which Jonathan and his armor bearer struck was about 20 men in about half an acre of land. And there was trembling in the camp, in the field, and among all the people. The outpost and the raiders also trembled, and the ground shook, and it became a trembling of Elohim. Uh, first, First Kings. Okay. 1 Kings 17, 1-7. 17, 1-7. And Eliah, E with a half a check mark, Liyaahu, the Tishbite, Tishbite, of the settlers of Gilead, Gil apostrophe AD with a line underneath of it, said to Ahab, with a dot, AB with a line underneath of it, as YahWeh, Elohim of Israel lives, before whom I stand, there shall be no dew or rain these years except at my word. And the word of YahWeh came to him, saying, Go away from here. Oh, wait. Go away from here and turn eastward and hide by the Wadi Kerith, Wadi Wadi Kerith, Kerith, which flows into the Yarden, Yarde with a half a check mark, N. And it shall be that you drink from the stream, and I shall command the ravens to feed you there. And he went and did according to the word of YahWeh, for he went and dwelt by the Wadi Kerith, which flows into the Yarden, and the ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and meat in the evening, and he drank from the stream. And it came to be after a while that the stream dried up because there had been no rain in the land. First Kings 17, 11-24. And as she was going to get it, he called and said to her, Please bring me a piece of bread in your hand. And she said, As YahWeh your Elohim lives, I do not have bread, only a handful of flour in a bin, and a little oil in a jar. And see, I am gathering a couple of sticks, and shall go in and prepare it for myself and my son, and we shall eat it and die. And Eliah went to her, Do not fear, go and do as you have said, but make me a small cake from it first, and bring to me, and afterward make some for yourself and your son. For thus said YahWeh, Elohim of Israel, the bin of flour shall not be used up, nor the jar of oil run dry, until the day YahWeh sends rain on the earth. So she went and did according to the word of Eliah, and she and he and her household ate for many days. The bin of flour was not used up, nor did the jar of oil run dry, according to the word of YahWeh, which he had spoke to Elijah. And after these events it came to be that the son of the woman who owned the house became sick, and his sickness was very severe, until there was no breath left in him, so he died. And she said to Elijah, What have I to do with you, O man of Elohim, have you come to me to bring my crookedness to be remembered and to kill my son? And he said to her, Give me your son. So he took him from her arms and took him to the upper room where he was dwelling, and laid him on his own bed, and cried out to Yahweh and said, O Yahweh, my Elohim, have you also brought evil on the widow with whom I am sojourning to kill her son? And he stretched himself out on the child 3 times and cried out to Yahweh and said, O Yahweh, my Elohim, I pray that the life of this child come back to him. Did, and Yahweh heard the voice of Elijah, and the life of the child came back to him, and he lived. And Elijah took the child and brought him down from the upper room into the house and gave him to his mother. And Elijah said, See, your son lives. And the woman said to Elijah, Now by this I know that you are a man of Elohim, and that the word of Yahweh in your mouth is true. First Kings 18:37-39. 18:37-39. Answer me, O Yahweh, answer me, and let this people know that you are Yahweh Elohim, and you shall turn their hearts back to you again. Then the fire of Yahweh fell and consumed the ascending offering, and the wood, and the stones, and the dust, and it licked up the water that was in the trench. And all the people saw and fell on their faces and said, Yahweh, He is the Elohim. Yahweh, He is the Elohim. Amen. 1 Kings 18:44-46. And it came to be in the seventh, and it came to be the 7th time that he said, See, a little cloud as small as a man's hand is coming out of the sea, and he said, Go up, say to Ahab, Hitch up and go down before the rain drops you. And in the meantime it came to be that the heavens became black with clouds and wind, and there was a heavy rain, while Ahab rode and went to Yizil, Yizre apostrophe E with a half a check mark L. And the hand of Yahweh was on Elijah, and he girded up his loins and ran ahead of Ahab to the entrance of Yizil. First Kings 21:21-24. See, I am bringing evil on you, and shall consume your descendants, and cut off from Ahab every male in Israel, both those shut up and those left at large, and make your house like the house of Yeroboam, Yarob with a line underneath of it, apostrophe Am, son of Nebat, Neb with a line underneath of it, At, and like the house of Baasha, Ba apostrophe Asha, son of Ahiah, Ah with a dot, Iyah, because of the provocation with which you have provoked me and made Yisrael sin. And also of Isabel, Izeb with a line underneath of it, El. Yahweh has spoken, saying, The dogs are going to eat Isabel by the wall of Yisrael, Yizre. The dogs are going to eat whatever belongs to Ahab and dies in the city, and the birds of the heavens are going to eat whoever dies in the field. Interesting. 2 Kings 1:4-16. So therefore, thus says Yahweh, you are not going to get out of bed to which you have gone up, for you shall certainly die. And Elijah went, and the messengers returned to him, and he said to them, why have you come back? And they said to him, a man came up to meet us and said to us, go return to the sovereign who sent you, and say to him, thus says Yahweh, it is because there is no Elohim in Israel that you are sending to inquire of Beelzebub, so Lord Zebub, Satan, B-A-apostrophe-A-L dash capital Z-E-B with a line underneath of it, U-B with a line underneath of it, the mighty one of Ekron. Therefore you are not going to get out of bed to which you have gone up, for you shall certainly die. And he said to them, what was the man like who came up to meet you and spoke to you these words? And they answered him, he was a hairy man and wore a leather girdle around his waist. And he said, it is Elijah the Tishbite. He then sent to him a captain of 50 with his 50 men, who drew up to him and see, he was sitting on the top of a hill. And he spoke to him, man of Elohim, the sovereign has said, come down. And Elijah answered and said to the captain of 50, and if I am a man of Elohim, let fire come down from the heavens and consume you and your 50 men. And fire came down from the heavens and consumed him and his 50. And he then sent another captain of 50 with his 50 men to him. And he answered and said to him, man of Elohim, this is what the sovereign said, come down at once. And Elijah answered and said to them, if I am a man of Elohim, let fire come down from the heavens and consume you and your 50 men. And a fire of Elohim came down from the heavens and consumed him and his 50. And again he sent a third captain of 50 and his 50 men. And the third captain of 50 went up and came and fell on his knees before Elijah and pleaded with him and said to him, man of Elohim, please let my life and the life of these 50 servants of yours be precious in your eyes. See, fire has come down from the heavens and burned up the first two captains of 50s with their 50s. But let my life be precious in your eyes. And the messenger of Yahweh said to Elijah, go down with him, do not be afraid of him. So he rose up and went down with him to the sovereign and spoke to him, thus said Yahweh, because you have sent messengers to inquire of Beelzebub, the mighty one of Ekron, is it because there is no Elohim in Israel to inquire of his word? Therefore you are not going to get out of the bed to which you have gone up, for you shall certainly die. And he did die almost right away. 2 Kings 2:8-14. And Elijah took his mantle and rolled it up and struck the water, and it was divided this way and that, so that the two of them passed over on dry ground. And it came to be, when they had passed over, that Elijah said to Elisha, Elisha, ask what I am doing for you. Ask what I am to do for you before I am taken away from you. And Elisha said, please let a double portion of your spirit be upon me. And he said, you have made it hard to ask. Yet if you see me when I am taken from you, it is yours, but if not, it is not. And it came to be, as they continued on and spoke, that see, a chariot of fire with horses of fire, which separate the two of them. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into the heavens, and Elisha saw it and cried out, my father, the chariot of Israel and its horsemen. And he saw him no more. Then he took hold of his garments and tore them into two pieces. And he took up the mantle of Elijah that had fallen from him, and went back and stood by the bank of the Jordan. And he took the mantle of Elijah that had fallen from him, and struck the water, and said, Where is Yahweh Elohim of Elijah? And he struck the water, and it was divided this way and that, and Elisha passed over. Yeah. Amen. It's 2 Kings 2:19 to 24. And the men of the city said to Elisha, Look, the site of this city is good, as my master sees, but the waters are spoiled, and the soil barren. And he said, Bring me a new bowl, and put salt in it. And they brought it to him, and he went out of the source of the water, and threw salt in there, and said, Thus said Yahweh, I have healed this water, no longer shall death or barrenness come from it. And the waters were healed to this day, according to the word of Elisha, which he spoke. And he went up from there to Beth El, B-E with a half a check mark, Y-T-H-L-E with a half a check mark, L. And as he was going up the way, some youths came from the city and mocked him, and said to him, Go up, bald head, go up, bald head. And he turned around and looked at them, and pronounced a curse on them in the name of Yahweh. And 2 female bears came out of the forest, and tore to pieces 42 of the youths. I bet you they weren't talking bad to him anymore. Disrespectful children. Second Kings 3:15 to 18. And now bring me a harpist. And it came to be, when the harpist played, the hand of Yahweh came upon him. And he said, Thus said Yahweh, make this wadi ditches. Thus said Yahweh, you are not going to see wind nor rain, yet that wadi is to be filled with water, so that you, your cattle, and your beasts shall drink. And this shall be but a light matter in the eyes of Yahweh, and he shall give Moab, M-O'-A-B with a line underneath of it, into your hand. Second Kings 3:22 to 24. And they said, This is blood. The sovereigns have indeed struck swords and have killed one another. 22. Sorry, my bad. And they rose up early in the morning, and the sun was shining on the water, and the Moabites saw the water on the other side as red as blood, and they said, This is blood. The sovereigns have indeed struck swords and have killed one another. And now Moab to the spoil, and they came to the camp of Yisrael, and Yisrael rose up and struck the Moabites, so that they fled before them. And striking, they struck the Moabites. Second Kings 4:2 to 7. Oops, sorry. And Elisha said to her, What should I do for you? Inform me, what do you have in the house? And she said, Your female servant has none at all in this house except a pot of oil. And he said, Go borrow vessels from everywhere, from all your neighbors, empty vessels, do not get a few. And when you have come in, you shall shut the door behind you, and your sons then pour it into all those vessels, and set aside the filled ones. So she went from him and shut the door behind her and her sons, who brought the vessels, fancy English, the vessels, to her, and she poured it out. And it came to be, when the vessels were filled, that she said to her son, Bring me another vessel. But he said to her, There is not another vessel. And the oil ceased. So she went and informed the man of Elohim, and he said, go sell the oil and pay your debt, and you and your sons live on the rest. And it came to be, oh, I 1 to 7, 2 to 7. Second Kings 4:14 to 17. And he said, what then is to be done for her? And Gehazi, G-E with a half a check mark, H with a dot, A-Z-I answered, well, she has no son, and her husband is old. And he said, call her. So he called her, and she stood in the doorway, and he said, about this appointed time next year you shall embrace a son. And she said, no, my master, man of Elohim, do not lie to your female servant. And the woman conceived and bore a son when the appointed time had come, of which Elisha had spoken to her. Amen. 2 Kings 4:32 to 35. And Elisha came into the house and saw the child was dead, lying on his bed. And he went in and shut the door behind the two of them and prayed to Yahweh. And he went up and lay on the child and put his mouth on his mouth, and his eyes on his eyes, and his hands on his hands, and stretched himself out on the child, and the flesh of the child became warm. And he returned and walked back and forth in the house, went went up and stretched himself out on him, and the child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. Amen. In hopes I will try to finish 2 Kings, and then that'll probably be the end of the first video, and then I'll probably make 2 videos, because there's still quite a bit on the other page. So yeah. Try to finish 2 Kings here. 2 Kings 4:39 to 44. And one went out of the field to gather plants, and found a wild vine, and gathered wild cucumbers from it, filled the skirt of his garments, and came and sliced them into the pot of stew. Though they did not know that what they were, then served it to the men to eat. And it came to be that they were eating the stew, that they cried out and said, O man of Elohim, there is death in the pot. And they were unable to eat it. And he said, then bring some flour. And he put it into the pot and said, serve it to the people to eat. And there was no evil matter in the pot. I wonder what it tastes like to eat strictly cooked wild cucumber. Boiled wild cucumber by the sounds of it. Yeah. Now a man came from Baal Shalisha, Baal B-A apostrophe A-L Shalisha Shalishah, and brought the man of Elohim bread of the first fruits, 20 loaves of barley bread, and newly ripened grain in his knapsack. And he said, give it to the people to eat. And his servant said, what, do I set this before 100 men? And he said, give it to the people to eat. For thus said Yahweh, eat and have some left over. And he set it before them, and they ate and had some left over, according to the word of Yahweh. Second Kings 5:13 to 15. And his servants came near and spoke to him and said, my father, if the prophet had spoken to you a great matter, would you not have done it? How much more then when he says to you, wash and be clean? Then he went down and dipped 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of Elohim, and his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and it was clean. And he returned to the man of Elohim, he and all his company, and came and stood before him and said, see, now I Know that there is no Elohim in all the earth except in Israel. And now please take a gift from your servant. Second Kings 5:25-27. And he went in and stood before his master, and Elisha said to him, Where do you go, Gehazi? And he said, Your servant did not go anywhere. But he said to him, Did not my heart go with you when the man turned back from his chariot to meet you? It is time to accept silver and to accept garments. Is it time to accept silver and to accept garments, and olive trees and vineyards, and sheep and cattle, and male and female servants? So let the leprosy of Naaman, Na'Aman, cling to you and your descendants forever. And he went out from him as leprous as snow. He knew that he was being lied to, and he called him out on it. And the guy was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he was like, but I do. 2 Kings 6:5-9. And it came to be as one was cutting down a tree that the iron axe head fell into the water, and he cried out and said, O my master, for it was borrowed. And the man of Elohim said, Where did it fall? And he showed him the place. And he cut off a stick and threw it in there and made the iron float. And he said, Pick it up. And he reached out his hand and took it. And the sovereign of Aram, Aram, was fighting against Israel, and took counsel with his servant, saying, My camp is in such and such a place. And the man of Elohim sent to the sovereign of Israel, saying, Be on guard, do not pass this place, for the Arameans, Arameans, are coming down there. 2 Kings 6:17-22. And Elisha prayed and said, YahWeh, I pray, open his eyes and let him see. And YahWeh opened the eyes of the young man, and he looked and saw the mountain covered with horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. And when they came down to him, Elisha prayed to YahWeh and said, Strike this nation with blindness, I pray. And he struck them with blindness according to the word of Elisha. And Elisha said to them, This is not the way, nor is this the city. Follow me, and let me bring you to the man whom you seek. But he led them to Shomron, Shomeron, and it came to be when they had come to Shomron, that Elisha said, YahWeh, open the eyes of these men so that they see. And YahWeh opened their eyes, and they looked and saw they were in the midst of Shomron. And when the sovereign of Israel saw them, he said to Elisha, My father, should I strike? Should I strike? But he said, Do not strike. Do you strike those whom you have taken captive with your sword and your bow? Set food and water before them, and let them eat and drink and go to their master. Second Kings 7:1-7. One to 7. And Elisha said, Hear the word of YahWeh. Thus said YahWeh, About this time tomorrow, a seah, a fine flour for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel, at the gate of Shomron, and an officer on whose hand the sovereign leaned answered the man of Elohim and said, Look, if YahWeh is making windows in the heavens, shall this word come true? And he said, Look, you are about to see it with your own eyes, but not eat of it. And there were 4 leprous men at the entrance of the gate, and they said to each other, Why are we sitting here until we are dead? If we shall if we shall say, let us go into the city, the scarcity of food is in the city, and we shall die there. And if we sit here, we shall die. And now come, let us surrender to the army of the Arameans. If they keep us alive, we live, and if they kill us, we shall die. So at twilight they rose up to go to the camp of the Arameans. And when they had come to the outskirts of the Arameans' camp, look, no one was there, for Yahweh had caused the army of the Arameans to hear the noise of chariots and the noise of horses and the noise of a great army. And they said to each other, look, the sovereign of Israel has hired against us the sovereigns of the Hittites and the sovereigns of the Mitzrites to come against us. So they rose up and fled at twilight and left the camp as it is, their tents and their horses and their donkeys, and they fled for their lives. Amen. 2 Kings 8:1. And Elisha spoke to the woman whose son he had restored to life, saying, rise up and go, you and your household, and sojourn wherever you do sojourn, for Yahweh has called for the scarcity of food, and also it is coming upon the land for 7 years. Second Kings 8:8-13. And the sovereign of Hazael, H with a dot, A-Z-A apostrophe, E with a half a check mark, L, take a present in your hand and go to meet the man of Elohim and require of Yahweh by him, saying, do I recover from this sickness? And Hazael went to meet him and took a present to him and of all the good wares, fancy English, wares of Damascus, Dammeseq, 40 camel loads. And he came and stood before him and said, son of Ben-Hadad, Ben dash capital Had with a line underneath of it, Ad with a line underneath of it, sovereign of Aram, has sent me to you, saying, do I recover from this sickness? And Elisha said to him, go, say to him, you shall certainly recover, but Yahweh has shown me that he shall certainly die. And he looked at him, fancy English, at him steadily, until he was ashamed. Then the man of Elohim wept, and Hazael said, why is my master weeping? And he answered, because I know the evil that you are going to do to the children of Israel, setting their strongholds on fire and killing their young men with the sword, and dashing their children and ripping open their women with children. And Hazael said, by what is your servant a dog that he should perform this great matter? And Elisha answered, Yahweh has shown that you are to be sovereign over Aram. Second Kings 9:6-10. And he rose up and went into the house, and he poured the oil on his head, and said to him, thus said Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, I have anointed you sovereign over the people of Yahweh, over Israel, and you shall strike the house of Ahab your master, and I shall avenge the blood of my servants the prophets, and the blood of all the servants of Yahweh at the hand of Isabel. And all the house of Ahab shall perish, and I shall cut off from Ahab all the males in Israel, both those shut up and those left at large. And I shall give up the house of Ahab like the house of Erobam, son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasher, Nebat, Neb with a line underneath of it, At, and Baasher, Ba apostrophe Asha, son of Ahiah, Ah with a dot, Iyah. And the dogs are going to eat Isabel in the portion of Yaziel, with none to bury her. Then he opened the door and fled. 2 Kings 13:15-21. This will be the last one before I make another video. 2 Kings 13:15-21. And Elisha said to him, Take a bow and some arrows. And he took a bow and some arrows. And he said to the sovereign of Israel, Place your hand on the bow. So he placed his hand, and Elisha placed his hands on the hands of the sovereign, and said, Open the east window. And he had opened it. And Elisha said, Shoot. And he shot. And he said, The arrow of deliverance of YahWeh, and the arrow of deliverance from Aram, for you shall strike Aram at Aphek, Aphe, with a half a check mark Q, until it is finished. Then he said, Take the arrows. And he took them, and he said to the sovereign of Israel, Strike the ground. And he struck the ground, and he struck 3 times and stopped. And the man of Elohim was wroth with him, and said, You should have struck 5 or 6 times, then you would have stricken Aram till its utter destruction. But now you shall strike Aram only 3 times. And Elisha died, and they buried him, and the raiding bands from Moab, MO''AB with a line underneath of it, came into the land into the spring of the year. And it came to be, they were burying a man, and there they saw a raiding band, and cast the man into the burial site of Elisha. And the man fell and touched the bones of Elisha, and came to life, and stood on his feet.
Amen to that.